Many of you may eventually become visitors to Edinburgh, and if you are, you may stay in hotels, hostels, B&Bs. If you are one of these folk, please heed the words of this story. It starts in the 1800s with a tall and proud house and an equally tall and handsome owner. Yet, he was much the talk of gossip amongst his neighbours, not for his good looks, but for the fact every single night he threw wild parties up in his attic room. And every single night, nobody was seen going in or out of the house. People became wary of this house. They avoided it at night, until one night when the music was louder than ever before, and a blood-curdling scream pierced the night sky. When it did, the music stopped, and the next morning our man was seen leaving his house in a coffin for the last time. The weeks and months to come, though, despite the house being boarded up, every single night, music and light could still be seen and heard coming from that attic room. Rumours spread that this house was haunted, this number 17 was haunted indeed. And so, nobody bought it. It fell into ruin until the year 1915. In 1915, a young couple decided that they would purchase this house. They would renovate it and restore it to its former glory and open for business as a hotel. And indeed they did. And at first business went fine, but there was one problem. The attic room was always complained about. Guests hated it. The maids, they didn't like it either. One was folding sheets at the end of the bed when she heard laughter coming from behind her. And when she turned around, nothing was there. The hotel owner decided it wasn't worth his trouble. He would lock it up and use it for storage. And when he did, things went fine. Business went back to normal. And for the weeks and months to come, all was good until one night. It was a dark and stormy night. The wind howled and the rain lashed. It threatened to remove shutters from their windows and bricks from walls. Oh my, it was quite the Edinburgh storm. And in that storm were caught a young couple. Bless them, they were on their honeymoon. Husband had failed to book proper accommodation. Wife was none too pleased. Perhaps the marriage would not live out the night unless they could find somewhere to stay soon. We cut back to our hotel owner, who was just closing up for the evening when a knock at the door. Strange, doesn't normally get business at this hour. He opened the door and sure enough, there were our young couple, begging for a place to stay, rain-sodden and soaked. He said he had none, but then remembered the attic room. That was only being used for storage. They could go there if they desired. He gave them the key and they thanked him so much. They took the key and they began to trudge up the stairs as fast as their feet could carry them, until they got to the landing of the attic floor. They stopped because they swore they could hear voices coming from inside the room. Strange. Wasn't meant to be anybody in that room. So they rang a bell to alert a maid so she could tell them if there'd been a mistake. And when they did, they awoke something dark. Something that shouldn't have been disturbed. Someone who should have been laid to rest. It was Mary Brewster, the oldest service maid in number 17. Now she, like a traditional Scottish woman, liked her sleep and was about 10 foot wide and 4 foot tall. "What is it?" she said. "What on earth could it be at this hour?" "We're very sorry," said the young couple. "There seems to be somebody in our room." "What? The attic room? Oh, there's nobody in that room." She snatched the key from their hand and pressed it into the lock. Muttering and havering and muttering and havering, she burst through the door. "I'll show you there's nobody in this room." And she went in and was muttering and havering the whole while, until the door, seemingly of its own volition, started to close behind her, and her muttering and havering faded into silence. An uncomfortable silence fell over our young couple. They did not like that silence. Ah! Mary Brewster screamed. The hotel owner heard the scream and sprinted up the stairs as fast as his feet could carry him. He burst into the room, and there was Mary at the foot of the bed, clutching a bedpost, her eyes fixed on an invisible spot in the ceiling. "Mary, what happened to you?" he said. Mary didn't answer. Mary would never speak again. She died in a mental asylum 3 years later, mute. The hotel owner, he vowed never to open the room again. He would lock it up and use it for storage, or not even use it at all. But business went bad. Rumour started to spread of his haunted hotel, and he needed a solution. And it presented itself in the shape of one young Andrew Muir. Now, Andrew Muir was a student of divinity and science at the University of Edinburgh, and he would prove that there was no such thing as ghosts. he would stay in the room for one night and one night only to prove his point. The hotel owner was reluctant, but he had no choice. He agreed under one condition. Andrew was to take with him 2 bells, one small, high-pitched, to ring if he saw anything strange, and one deep, booming bell to ring only if his life was in mortal danger. Andrew agreed, and the last time the hotel owner saw him, he was at his desk reading his prayers. The hotel owner went to sleep in the room below so he might hear if anything occurred, and he was just drifting off. He was on the cusp of dreams when the high-pitched bell started to ring. He burst out of his bed and started to move up the stairs. The faster he went, the faster the bell went too. Andrew was in trouble. He got to the landing and the deep, booming bell sounded. Andrew was in mortal danger. He cast open the door. And there was Andrew, sat quite still at his desk. He raced over to touch him, reached out. Andrew was stone cold. He checked his pulse. Andrew was stone cold dead. In his fingertips was clutched the high-pitched bell. So he'd clearly been ringing it before he died. But his eyes, like Mary Brewster's, were fixed on an invisible spot too. But this time they fell across the room, onto a mantelpiece. And on the mantelpiece rested the deep, booming bell. Now, as the hotel owner walked meters across the room, he realised there's no way Andrew had been ringing it before he died. Who or what did, he did not stay to find out, for he heard laughter coming from behind him. He ran and lived to tell the tale. And the reason I tell it to you today is because this comes from the Edinburgh Police Unsolved Murder Records, ladies and gentlemen. It's a genuine tale, and we lost number 17. We do not know where this house stands today. What we do know is that in Edinburgh we like to renovate from within rather than demolish. So to this day it may well still make a fine hostel, hotel, B&B. If you find something strange is going on in your room this evening, something makes an odd noise, or something goes bump in the night, I implore you, run.